Okay, welcome to another episode of the Blues Brothers podcast, the show that discusses all things football and particularly Chelsea FC with plenty of debates, questions and deliberations for the fans, made by the fans. And tonight I'm delighted to be joined by a massive Chelsea fan, follows them home and away, everywhere. Great, big on YouTube, got a bit of a following on Instagram as well. Alex Harris, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
No, absolute pleasure. No problem at all. Mate, like to start the podcast off with a simple question. Why Chelsea for you? What's the story behind getting into following the club?
Well, for me, on my family side, I had my mum's and my dad's side. My mum's from up north, originally Sunderland, Newcastle, and then my dad. I don't actually think he ever lived in Chelsea. He actually grew up in Wales, but he was a Chelsea fan. I think his dad was a Chelsea fan, so my granddad as well. It's just sort of flown through the family. And my mum was never really into football, dad a lot more so. So I went to my first game in 2009. I went to the FA Cup final when we beat Portsmouth. I think Drogba scored like a really sexy free kick in that one. I think we won 1-0 back when Ancelotti was the manager. I sort of went back and forth to a few games, mostly cup finals. And then I actually ended up living abroad for a few years, so it was difficult, to actually go and watch the games regularly. But in Conte's second season, I came back to England, and ever since then, I've tried to just do as much as I can, and I've tried to sort of bring people on that journey through some of the stuff that I do on Instagram and YouTube as well, and I'm loving it, and I hope to, can keep doing it.
Yeah, no, great stuff, mate. Obviously, you've managed to follow the club through some great times and probably also some not so great times. But at the moment, things are going pretty well at the moment, I have to say. Moving kind of forward to present Chelsea times, we've had a great start to the season, a point clear at the top of the league heading into December. Before we get into kind of last night's game and looking ahead to West Ham, what have you made of the start to the season? Now we're approaching that crucial Christmas period. Has it gone more or less how you expected it, or has this kind of exceeded your expectations?
No, I expected this. I don't think it's surprising. I was actually very happy following Chelsea when we finished fourth under Sarri. I was happy when we had Lampard. Different eras. Sarri, it was more of a transitional period with the style of play and just the way the club was run as a whole. And then with Lampard, results weren't necessarily there. We didn't pick up trophies, but the entertainment factor definitely was. And sort of coming into this new Tommy Tuchel era, what we're seeing is a mixture between the two. But on top of that, we've got consistent success around. And obviously, when you bring the playing style and just the unity that the club has as a whole, it's the best place we've been since Antonio Conte won the league, really. And one of the things that I think Tuchel just does well, he's just able to be blunt and honest. And I think that we've always struggled with that with every manager, and that includes Jose, all of them. They were all good at speaking to the media, but I think some managers, especially Nuno more recently, they just don't open up. And I think in this modern day with social media, the smallest things can be taken out of context, and Tuchel just doesn't give anyone the opportunity to sort of get the upper hand with that sense. But I was confident we're going to win the league. I'm still confident we're going to win the league. Every competition that we enter, we should be favourites to win. We are that good. We have so much depth. If we can keep players fit, there should be no competition. That's the way I see it.
And obviously, I know it's a few months back now, but going back to the summer, were you happy with the business that the club did, the players that came through the door?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've been building on it, since Lampard came in. But even the players, there's players that people don't even notice, like Kovacic and Jorginho when they come in. That midfield trio with Kante, it is the best in the league when you start. You've got every piece of the puzzle there. You've got a player who can sit back. You've got a player who can do box to box. And then when you're in a tight scenario, you need to break through a press. You've got Kovacic as well. So in that sense, we've done very well. Saul obviously struggling a little bit at the moment. Especially with that physical element in the Premier League. But, it's hardly surprising when you've played at Atletico Madrid your whole life. And obviously, just in general, I think the squad as a whole is developing very well. So I just think that one of the things, especially with Hudson-Odoi, just players like that, even Chilwell, you can see that they're actually developing, even though they're already top players. And it takes a real manager to sort of bring the best out of that group. And I think, Tommy, he's not just doing it once every now and then. He's showing over a long period just that sort of exponential growth throughout. And as long as we keep backing the manager financially and as a fan base, it's like anything. You just need to give him more time, and I just think he'll go on to do more and more great things.
Yeah, no, he's definitely exceeded expectations. I mean, just briefly on Tuchel, obviously when he replaced Lampard back in January, how did you feel about it? I mean, because I was I thought it was a good appointment, but I know that quite a section of the fan base were a little bit underwhelmed by it. What were your kind of initial thoughts when he was appointed?
Well, obviously, I knew that he'd had success with PSG, and I watched the Champions League final. It wasn't the most exciting thing, so I didn't really have much to sort of see in terms of playing style and things like that. There wasn't really much expectation, but any manager that Chelsea bring in, he's going to have something, right? There's something that you're looking for. What's different about Tuchel? Well, for a starter, he's very flexible. He's a manager who likes to change things, and he's not scared of changing things. And one of the things I found, he's not got one particular formation he uses all the time. He's happy to go, I can't think off the top of my head, but if 5 at the back wasn't working for us, or 3 at the back, he'd happily change it to a 4. We've done it before, and if need be, he'd do it again. Whereas, you see, especially in Conte's second season, that 3 at the back just wasn't working, but he refused to change. And that's what I think there's quite a big difference with Tuchel, just the way he handles those situations. Maybe he just doesn't carry as much of an ego. Maybe it's that, but I just think he knows what he's doing. And at times you have to change things, and football's modernizing so fast, you sort of have to move with the times, really. But as a whole, I just think that, we've got a hell of a manager on us, and PSG are probably looking at that thinking, like, we have made the biggest mistake here. I couldn't comprehend why they got rid of him in the first place. He had such a good win percentage. They said that actually the reason he left the club was just because he was having arguments with the board. But any successful manager is always pushing to get the best out of a club. It's not always going to be, flowers and roses. And I just think that it's one of those things. It happens, doesn't it? Like Ozil leaving Arsenal on a free transfer. These things just happen, and some of them go unnoticed, some of them don't. And we just happen to be one of the lucky ones, able to get one of the better deals.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. Obviously, moving on to current matters. Game last night, you were there, Watford away. I have to say, personally, I felt it was probably the worst performance under Tuchel since we lost 5-2 to West Brom at the Bridge. I mean, you were there. Would you agree with that? It wasn't great from us, was it?
Yeah, the problem is that on the counter, we just didn't have that sort of that cutting edge, just tactical fouls, things that we see with Guardiola's Man City side, just breaking up the play and just controlling, actually, which is something unusual for us to say. We've always been very controlled, a very balanced side. We're able to sort of control all elements of the game, not just off the ball, but on the ball as well. And that's where we probably missed Jorginho. And then on the counter as well, Kante is always a useful player to have. So obviously the midfield was slightly weakened. Obviously Loftus-Cheek's had a run of games now. So it's not that there's rust there, but it's probably been a while since he's been playing at that level that consistently. So that's just a case of giving it a bit of time. I don't have any issues with that. With Saul, however, he's just taken a little bit longer than we thought. But at the end of the day, we haven't bought the man. We've only put him on loan. So if he doesn't change something in the second half of the season, he's not really doing himself any favours getting a move, not just to Chelsea, but anywhere. On top of that, when he was at Atletico, he wasn't playing because he wanted to leave. So things go back there. He goes back there. It's going to be quite awkward. But as a whole, the performance, it wasn't our best. But when you're able to play the way we did and still grind out results, that's when you still have faith, as I said, that you're going to win the title. We are playing with a weakened squad. We have lots of players out. That the way we wanted to play or throughout the season, we're not able to play without players like Werner, without players like Chilwell. The list goes on. It's getting longer and longer with Chalobah as well, who's out. So it just means that other players have to step up, like Ziyech, for example. Mount's coming back. So we've got all those elements. We just need to learn how to blend them together, but also find that consistency so that when the other players do come back, everyone can still be involved and obviously perform to that peak level.
I mean, do you feel last night part of the reason we struggled was, obviously you touched on it, that midfield too? You could really notice with the likes of Jorginho and a Kante not in there, how much we struggle to really control that area of the pitch.
Well, Yeah, I mean, there was no physicality in there.
Yeah.
Loftus-Cheek has never been a particularly physical player. He's very technical, but even in that sense, he wasn't at his best, obviously giving the ball away for Watford to score. And, when you're on the counter against a Premier League side who are really fighting at the bits just to stay up and have a bit of confidence, especially after beating Man United, it was a good finish in the end, but they sort of put us in a bit of a position where we had to make a change. If we'd have stayed 1-0 up, I don't know if Tuchel would have taken Saul off, because I do think that regardless, that he does deserve 90 minutes. You can't critique a man who's played 45 minutes of football. There's games where players must have had a shocker in the first half and maybe come back and scored or completely bounced back. I think a team talk, tactical changes, they can change anything in the dimension of a game, but it's just so close up the top of the table. There's just so little in it that these decisions have to be made, and unfortunately, Sal's a victim of that.
I mean, on Sal, do you feel that that's kind of it now for him? Do you think he's gonna? Do you think we'll see him in a Chelsea shirt again? I think in midfield, I know it's harsh to judge him on kind of 45 minutes against Watford last night, 45 minutes on his debut against Villa, and he played in the League Cup against Southampton, and he's had a few appearances off the bench here and there. Not a lot of time to do anything, but I mean, Chelsea's cutthroat, and it's cutthroat when you're going for the big trophies. And I just feel that in midfield now, unless we're down to the bare bones, he just isn't going to get a look in anymore. And perhaps his only way in could be a potential experiment at left wing back. I mean, do you feel his Chelsea career is kind of done now?
I definitely can't see him playing as a left wing back.
Nah.
I don't see that at all. I don't see how that's going to work, because even in that wing back spot, we have a bit of spine, strength, charisma. Alonso, Ben Chilwell, both goal scoring left wing backs. Chilwell's obviously got a slightly better delivery on him, but they're both quite strong as well. Technically, I think Saul is a great player, but you need more than that. You really do. And when you're running up and down on that left-hand side, I just don't see how it could cope. It's a really unique position, and let alone learning to play in the Premier League, but then learning to play in the Premier League in probably, arguably, one of the hardest positions. I just can't see that working. But no, I do think that we will see Saul again. I don't think it's the end of his Chelsea career. I think that's quite harsh. It's different when you've got players like Higuain or Morata, in my opinion, who just didn't try. I just didn't see them trying. Those are examples. There's other players out there. I see effort from Saul. I see a player who wants to play, a player who takes it seriously, who has potential, who already has quality. We saw, obviously, had a shocker when he started against Aston Villa. I was sitting right behind, kept giving the ball away, conceding chances. But then he did actually improve at Southampton. He had some good shots on goal, and we saw, especially outside of the box, he's able to make things happen. But we're not building the team around Saul. Saul needs to learn to fit into what we do. If he is willing to make that compromise, because that could be the case, then we can definitely fit him into our plans. But at the end of the day, you've got to think as well, next season, we've got Gilmore, we've got Gallagher.
Yeah.
If they're coming back in, absolutely not. He's not going to have a place in our squad starting 11, but there is still a chance for him to redeem himself this season. So if he does want to get the move away from Atletico, that option will be viable, and clubs will obviously still be interested.
Yeah, no, it is hard for him, but yeah, he does have to offer a lot more. I mean, I think last night was another indication, Alex, that without Reece James and Ben Chilwell, the side looks totally different, doesn't it? With obviously Alonso one side, Aspie the other side, both good pros, but they don't offer what Chilwell and James do. They just haven't got that attacking threat in the final third. And I think we miss a lot of goal threat when one or both of those guys don't play.
I disagree with Alonso. I think we do have a goal threat when Alonso plays. But Alonso's, the way Antonio Conte utilised Alonso,
it was great.
It was built around the wing backs. This system, maybe not as much. It's more of a team. I can't really think of one thing that Chelsea do now. We score goals in the midfield. We score goals from the wing backs. We distribute well from the defenders and the goalkeepers, and then we can hold up the ball with Lukaku. We can press and make runs in behind with Werner. I can't think of one way to describe Chelsea's playing style. I think definitely Alonso is the kind of player who can keep up with Reece James's numbers or Ben Chilwell's numbers, especially with goals. Maybe not as much so with assists. We've seen it, especially with that left foot of his. We know
start of the season, he was good, wasn't he?
Well, he was great. And the reality is he never actually deserved to lose his starting spot. But Ben Chilwell had waited long enough. And at the end of the day, you have to mix it up sometimes just to get that, just to get the team morale up. And on top of that, obviously, they're going to push each other. We saw it at Man United with Luke Shaw and Christian Telles, how much of a difference that move made. Sure, he reached a new level. And Ben Chilwell absolutely doing exactly what we needed him to do. But he's out. He's not here. He's not going to be playing for a little while. We've got to trust Alonso. I'm not even that gutted that Alonso's playing. We are working with one of the best left wing backs. I can't think of many left wing backs that can do what he does. Absolutely, your distribution can get better. You can learn to whip in a better cross, or maybe not learn because he's a little bit older now. But you get my idea. And with Dave, usually we'd have someone, more attacking on that other side, so he'd be able to sit back more. But we don't have that luxury, so it's just a case we've got to make it work. If that means we've got to have Lukaku, who holds up the ball and then creates, and then gives the ball to the midfielders who are going to make things happen in the middle of the park, that might be the way forward. But at the end of the day, you can't criticize a squad when you haven't seen. When you haven't seen what it's going to do. And at the end of the day, we're going through a rough patch in terms of injuries. Hopefully it doesn't get any worse, because then we will be in trouble. And when I say we're going to win the league comfortably, I'm talking about squad depth and quality in that first 11. You lose that quality in the beginning, you're going to struggle, like we saw with Liverpool. I don't think it can get that bad, but at the end of the day, it comes thick and fast in December, and we've got so many games. I just hope that Tuchel doesn't overwork the players, and obviously the players that do play do still actually put in a shift and obviously get us the results as well.
I mean, just one thing on that left wing back position. January window coming up. Obviously, we'll find out whether Chilwell is going to be able to play again this season in the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
If he can't, do you think the club should be looking at going into signing another player in that position, whether it be on loan or permanently? Or do you think we can get by with Aspie playing there, Alonso, and maybe Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic filling in at an emergency? Or do you feel that we need to go into the market?
Well, I've heard people talking about Maatsen from Coventry.
Coventry, he's on loan there.
But I just don't think that that's the right move for either. He's not going to get the game time that he needs to develop. And on top of that, you're just going to lose that momentum that he's had. At the end of the day, you're going to learn to build confidence. And as soon as you come back, you don't get the game time that you used to. That can drop. So I don't see that as a viable option. However, Emerson, he's out. He's in France at the moment, isn't he?
He's at Lyon.
Lyon. And he's a player that actually he's never really been that bad for us. He's never been great, but he's always been reasonably solid. You're looking at a 6-7 out of 10 player each week. And, I'm not going to say that he's probably the best suited role, especially with that left wing back role, but I'd rather have him than Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic or even Azpilicueta, because at least you know what you're getting. You've got a player who's left-footed, who knows the club, who's worked with Tommy Tuchel, even if it's just during pre-season. I just think that's a better option, and financially as well. Why break the bank? Chilwell's going to be back at some point. We've got enough quality in there anyway, and if need be, if things did get worse, obviously we could do something in the summer.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's one of them where we've definitely got the depth to get by, and if we need to bring someone on loan, then so be it. I mean, I think we should explore the possibility of being able to bring back Emerson. I think that's just an obvious thing to do rather than going to spend more money somewhere else. I think that should be looked at first. But yeah, ultimately, I think we've got enough to get by in that position. But obviously, you touched on the injuries. Are you slightly concerned about the amount of injuries we're picking up, and two, how frequently they seem to be occurring at the moment, particularly as we head into a busy Christmas period? And the Christmas period, notoriously for Chelsea, is either kind of make or break for a season. We saw it obviously be the downfall of Frank Lampard. Generally, if Chelsea get through the Christmas period pretty well, then the rest of the season is decent, and we normally end up winning the league. So heading into this vital period, are the injuries we're racking up concerning you? Obviously, Chalobah last night looks like a hamstring. That's going to be looking like weeks probably, and that's going to be a large chunk of this month missed. Yeah,
I mean, the reality is some players aren't going to be back for a little while, but we do have quality in there, and it's like I said before, it's not a case of waiting for those players and just crossing your fingers. We need players that are putting the shirt on and playing and having that chance to take it. And Ziyech is doing that. 5 goal contributions in 5 games. Mason Mount back with a bang after making a good impact off the bench against Man United. Not his best season, especially not the start. He's not been playing his best football. I don't know exactly why. He looks a little bit leaner than I've seen him in the past. But maybe it's just something that he's changing in his training regime, his diet. It's just taking him a bit of time to adapt. But he looks like he's back on form. Hopefully he can build up that consistency. Obviously, stay injury free as well. And then obviously we're going to rely heavily on Mendy. There's no beating around the bush. That back four has done really well for us, but people don't appreciate Jorginho enough in front of them. He gives them a great layer of protection, not just off the ball, but on the ball as well. He's just so reliable. He's calm, cool, calm, and composed. People say it was. People were saying that Jorginho should have won the Ballon d'Or. I'm not sure if we should have gone that far, but I think it was absolutely deserved to be in the top 3. Absolutely.
100%. I mean, the guy won everything. Euros, Super Cup, Champions League, the lot, and an integral part in all of that. So, winning it's probably a step too far, but top 3, 100%.
Absolutely.
And, and to think, that there were sections of the fan base up to really last season that still didn't like him, didn't appreciate him. And now I think now the fan base is fully on side and everyone does appreciate just what he offers to that side and how important he is. And you notice how important he is when he's not there. Like that's the thing with Jorginho. But I mean, moving on, we got West Ham away Saturday lunchtime, so another quick turnaround. Obviously, we don't know. We're obviously recording this Thursday night. We're not sure what the injury news is. Too close to do his presser tomorrow. How do you feel about going into this game? Because this is going to be a step up and it's going to be a hard game. I know West Ham obviously lost to Wolves and drew to Brighton last night, and they've obviously lost to Manchester City as well. So no wins in their last 3, but this will be a tough place to go, won't it?
Yeah, I have always said I believe that football is a game of momentum and timing. Sometimes you just need to play the right team on the right day. A great example of that is Everton, right? Whenever we go to Goodison Park, for some reason, their manager is on the brink of getting sacked or something's going to happen. And they just bounce back and they get a win. And I think it's exactly the same with West Ham. They've lost 3, they've dropped, they've not won in 3 games. They're going to be looking for a reaction. That home support, we've seen how great those fans can be when the team gets up for it. And there's no doubt that they will. It's a London derby, okay, against Chelsea, against the champions of Europe. They've pulled out results against the big boys before. They really pushed Man United, forcing them to score a last-minute equaliser and then missing that penalty right at the end. Liverpool took all 3 points away. That was a solid performance. So I don't think there's going to be any intimidation factor in terms of playing us. They know how to win these games at home. The key is that we can stay solid. I actually think we should go into that game with more of a, not counter-attacking mindset, but just protect yourself. Just that first 45. Don't concede. Things will happen. In the games, there's always moments, there's chances. One of the things that I'm not the biggest fan of Lukaku in terms of just taking that one chance. And it's the same with Werner. That's where I do think we will struggle because at the end of the day, as the season gets thick and thin, players just get rusty. And we saw it in the midfield against Watford. I think we're going to create chances, but it's just a case of taking them, but then also keeping the ball out of our net as well, especially if we're getting overrun in the midfield like we found out. But I personally don't think we're going to win the game. I'm not saying we're going to lose, but I can see us dropping points again. It's not a game to be embarrassed about losing or drawing either. West Ham are a solid side, but yeah, I mean, if we can win that game, then that would be massive for us.
I mean, it would always go. It's almost like a statement win, isn't it? One of those that shows that that actually we're here to hang about and we're taking this seriously and we're one of the top contenders. I mean, as you said, there'll be no shame in dropping points at West Ham. We see Liverpool go there and comprehensively lose. And they've beaten some big sides there, and we're going to have to be obviously on top of our game. We don't want to drop points, but let's be honest, we are going to drop points between now and the end of the season. That's just the way it goes. But West Ham away is hit and miss for us. We've done well there sometimes, and other times we have been really poor. I mean, obviously you mentioned Lukaku. got about 10 minutes against United. Tuchel said that was more than he wanted. He got a bit more last night. I think 20 minutes, half an hour. Do you feel that Tuchel's seen enough now that Lukaku's ready to start this game, or would you persist with Kai Havertz again, who actually did really well last against Watford?
Yeah, no, Havertz does do well. One of the things that people don't appreciate enough when Havertz plays is the amount of running he does. I think in our team, if you look at the stats, he is just one of the top players in terms of kilometers or miles or whatever it is, the amount of distance covered on that pitch. Because he is a very elegant player. He can look a little bit sluggish and lackluster when he's not at his best, but that's what Havertz is about. It's almost like Zidane in a way. We said it when we signed him. We haven't seen the best of Kai. Even though he had a good performance against Watford, I still believe that he could do a lot better. I think, a lot of players that play in that number 9 position, we just need to do well inside the box. Whatever you do outside is just a bonus. You're there to score goals and create chances and make things happen. If he's able to do that, brilliant. West Ham, they've got a big group of players, so inside the box it might be difficult. But at the end of the day, I think actually if Lukaku was fit, I would rather he started that game. Because as I said, I think we just need to hold on to it, give him the ball, let him hold up the play, but he definitely won't be starting, I don't think. If he does, I think it would be very interesting to see what does happen, but it's just a case of holding on. And Havertz is a player that can play in that system. We saw it when we drew 1-1 to Liverpool. He can grit his teeth and dig deep. So if need be, then absolutely we can do that. But he needs to start showing some numbers as well, just to back up the performances that he's put in.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I always feel like that's kind of Kai Havertz's best position where we're seeing him at the moment, that kind of false 9 position.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think that's why he initially struggled. Obviously, we haven't seen the best of him, as you touched on, but I think that's where he struggled under Lampard. We didn't have a position for him. Tuchel kind of back in the last season stumbled across the position for him, that false 9. Do you worry that once Lukaku comes back, obviously he's going to start when he's fit pretty much every game? Where do you think that leaves Havertz? Because obviously he's not been quite as effective in one of those left or right 10 positions. Do you feel that maybe we could see Tuchel experiment perhaps with a front 2 again? Maybe, Kai and Lukaku up there, or Lukaku and Werner. I mean, what does Lukaku's return to fitness mean for Havertz, if anything?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really visualize Lukaku playing with Havertz in the 2. I can't really see it, but it's something that I'd be interested to see. I can't see us playing that way week in, week out. It's something that would probably be tried and tested. Even with Werner, we haven't really seen too much of him and Lukaku together as well. But obviously, they both have injuries. That's probably a factor as well. I just think that the one thing that we need to go into this game with is just that grit. And I've already said it, I've already touched on it. On the ball, I don't think we need to be anything special. We can pull moments out. Chelsea Football Club. Oh, can we swear on here, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay, Chelsea Football Club are renowned for shithousing over the years.
Yeah.
And if we do that, that is typical. That's what we want to see. Forget good football in games like this. You're not going to win a league title playing tiki-taka like Guardiola. We don't have those type of players with that type of experience to cope with that, especially with the players we've got out injured. We've got to be realistic here. People say we've been playing defensive football over the season. That's a myth. We've been playing fantastic football on the ball and off the ball. But as the season goes, as things get tough, especially with these fixtures cramping up throughout, and you're going to have the knockout stage of the Champions League, you want players to be feeling sharp, fit, and you also want them to feel confident. So how are you going to do that? You've got to change things up. Keep the mindset fresh. I just can't see us winning this game playing with 60% possession. It's just not going to happen. I think we're just going to have to sit back at points and then just try and take your chance. As long as we get a clean sheet, we have a chance. But as soon as we concede a goal against Watford, people like against Watford, people start panicking because we've been pulling out those 1-0s ever since Tuchel's come in. But at the end of the day, there's only so long you can maintain that, because getting clean sheets week in, week out in the Premier League, it's not easy, and people don't appreciate that enough. And on top of that, we do make mistakes at the back. We've got a world-class keeper as well. So I just think this is a case of just knuckling down and just sticking your head, not in the sand. I don't know what the word, but you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Just getting down and dirty.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where you just take the scrappy 1-0 now, straight away. You just take the 1-0, but These are the games that, obviously the Watford one we just won, this West Ham away. These are the ones that if you can grind out the wins, those are the ones you'll look back on at the end of the season that got you across the line in getting to the title. If you want to challenge for the title seriously and win it up against the likes of a very good Liverpool, very good Manchester City, these are the type of games we have to be winning. We have to be beating the likes of West Ham away to win the league. It's kind of as simple as that. I know West Ham are good; they're top 4 at the moment.
Absolutely.
But yeah, if we've got ambitions of winning the league and we think we've got a very good chance, these games, unfortunately, you have to win these games. But yeah, it remains to be seen. But I think, if we can get one of Jorginho or Kante back into that midfield, I think Ruben probably plays again. That will make a big difference. If Lukaku plays, that's another big difference. But yeah, as you say, we're going to have to step up the performance level from Watford. But at the end of the day, as long as we just dig in and defend well, we will have opportunities in this game. And it's just whether we're clinical or not. I mean, in the majority of the time we are, but we have seen games this season, Burnley and Man United particularly, where we've created so many chances, we just can't put it in the back of the net. So
yeah, when I say clinical as well, just touching it, I'm not saying the whole team. I'm just talking up top. I'm just talking about Lukaku and Werner and players like that. I actually think all round we have quite a clinical group of players. But Ziyech's not going to be in the box when you've got a tap into. You know what I mean? He's not going to be there. He's going to be the one trying to provide. So we're going to need those other players to step up. But you don't know until you see it. So I try not to go too deep into it. But I just feel like it's one of those games,
And obviously, moving forward, kind of the season as a whole, and it's really a 3-horse race for the title. City and Liverpool, the main challenges. We're obviously 1 clear of City, 2 clear of Liverpool. How do you see this kind of race shaping up? It's probably going to go down to the final few weeks of the season, you would expect. Who do you think's better placed out of those two, out of City and Liverpool, at this kind of current point in time?
I think it's similar to our situation. If players can stay fit, I think that's starting 11 for Liverpool. I just don't think that's going to be a problem. Pep is the master of rotation, and he has this gift to be able to keep players fit so that he never has to deal with the issues that Jurgen Klopp dealt with last year or we're dealing with at the moment. So he's got the experience to know how to manage these players and get the best out of them as well. We saw Bernardo Silva lacking game time last season, considering the past year or so beforehand, he was one of their best players anyway. And he's bounced back and he's right back on form. So, with Man City, I think they're just equipped, just with everything, very similar to us. But I do think we have that edge, just in terms of pure quality on that first team sheet. But it's a case we have to grind out results. Man City don't really have to do that. They're able to sort of dance their way, through games with what looks to be little effort, but it's probably not the case. But I think if Liverpool, especially with the Africa Cup of Nations as well, they're going to struggle.
We've got Mendy as well. That squad's going to struggle, isn't it? Obviously, Salah and Mane, two of their best players in the league over the last few years. The drop off, that's been Liverpool's big thing, isn't it? The first 11, fantastic. They get that every week, great. But once one of those players is injured in the front line or in the midfield, the options from the bench are the drop down in quality is quite big. And to lose 2 of your front 3 for the whole of January is, for me personally, I think that's where Liverpool's challenge, if it falls down, will fall down. It's a big blow that for them, isn't it?
Yeah, and you've already sort of pointed it out. Really, it just highlights how much of a good job Jurgen Klopp has done to be able to take the squad from the position it was in without really spending, a ridiculous amount of money. Don't get me wrong, if you're going to win a title, you're going to spend money on. You need a quality goalkeeper. You need a great defender. They did that, but they've built around it, and we've done things a little bit differently. I think we've cemented more down the youth side, but we've also mixed that in with superstar talent. But we've been banking a lot on potential, and potential isn't going to win us a league. We need results, and we need them now. Man City, they're managing to blend the two together quite well as well. But I think they are our main competition, especially as the Africa Cup of Nations starts. But at the end of the day, teams are going to drop points, and we could go 10 points behind. I'd still be confident, as long as we've got players fit. You just don't know until you get in it. So I try and sort of take a bit of a step back when it comes to predicting, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't confident. I think we should win the Premier League. I think we should win the Champions League. Yeah. I really do. I actually expect it. When we won the Champions League in 2012, we won that averaging games with probably less than 40% possession half of the time, especially in that final. And there was a lot of luck involved, we're not going to lie about it. Obviously, people can argue you create your own luck, and I say that as well. Absolutely, I agree with that. We fully deserved to take the title home. But the following year, we were trying to play exactly the same way, and it just capitulated. You've got to try and maintain a base and have that good foundation to obviously build through. And I think that's where Tuchel is getting it right. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of them, isn't it?
I think the key to us, whether we're going to win the league or not, is when we get through this Christmas period. And that game against Liverpool, January 2nd at Stamford Bridge, if we're still top or within sort of 3-4 points, then I think it's very much on. If for whatever reason we have a Christmas like last season under Frank, then I think we can forget it. So this is not where we're not going to win the league in this Christmas period, but we can certainly lose it. So it is a crucial time for us now. But yeah, it was kind of last 10 minutes or so. We're going to go through a few questions that have been sent in.
Sure.
Let me just quickly get a few up on the old phone. First one, mate. Obviously you've been to a lot of Chelsea games, home and away. What's been your favourite away day? Kind of best ground to visit?
Great question. I like this. Yeah, I should have read through these before, because I could name loads of good away days. I think it depends what you're looking for. If you're looking for the matches as a whole that I've been to, Arsenal. I've always found Arsenal, they don't have the best atmosphere in there, but for some reason, whenever we go to the Emirates, we have a great time. But if I'm talking just experience as a whole, I think Spurs' new stadium pre-match, I don't think I've seen anything like it, especially the first time we actually went there. I didn't have a voice and the game had already started. So in terms of what's provided to you before you actually go out into the stands, Spurs, but in terms of actually going in the stadium, we've always had a really good time at Arsenal.
And in terms of European games, you've been to any away grounds in Europe?
Amsterdam.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Ajax.
Yeah, Ajax. That was a good one. I'm not going to comment much more on that.
No. But yeah, no, mate, definitely some good ones. I mean, just on that Spurs stadium, obviously as annoying as it is with them being our rivals, that stadium is quite something, isn't it? I mean, on the stadium thing, do you feel that? I mean, there's been kind of murmurings beforehand, Chelsea moving stadiums. Obviously, the old Battersea Power Station site, that didn't happen. Do you think that's something that the club needs to do to take that next step? We need to get into a bigger, more modern stadium? Or do you think, Stamford Bridge, we're quite happy there? Or ultimately, will money talk at the end of the day, and a bigger stadium, more revenue, more money coming in?
There's two ways to look at it. There's looking at it from the perspective of someone who goes to the games, and there's looking at it from someone who just watches the game on the telly, or is just a fan generally. If I wasn't going to the games, I would say get that new stadium. But as a season ticket holder and Matthew Harding Lower, I've got great seats. I can't even lie. I'm lucky. Because you could sit anywhere. And I'm right behind the goal. I'm close. I've never been to West Ham. I know we're going on the weekend, but I've seen pictures. I've seen videos. You're so far away. And I just don't want to take that sort of, I don't know, just that magical vibe of actually being really close to the action, feeling the tackles, seeing the shots, hearing the net bulge. I just don't want us to lose that. But if we can obviously expand, upgrade, and still be able to maintain that atmosphere and that Chelsea aroma, obviously I've got nothing against that.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then kind of sticking loosely with the West Ham theme, another question that's come through quite a lot is, this obviously wouldn't be a January move, more kind of looking ahead to the summer. Would you like to see Declan Rice join Chelsea next summer? Is that something you'd be for, or do you think actually we don't need him?
There's no reason to sign him. I could only see Declan Rice coming into the squad if Kante wasn't in it, because they do the same job. It's just that Kante does it better, and that's just my opinion. Declan Rice is a quality player. There's no denying that, but we have the quality of midfield. We're going to have Gallagher and Gilmour coming into that squad, and Gilmour can sit in that deep line role as well. So it might have been a case of just nurturing him into that. If we can get Rice on a free, you're probably asking me a different question. But if we have to spend money, it just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, some of the figures being quoted are just ridiculous. Sort of like upwards of £100 million. It's just
I wouldn't pay 50 million.
No, and the thing is, if you want to buy him, as you say, like it's gonna cost you at least 70, 80 million pounds. And to be honest, as you mentioned, the likes of Gallagher and Gilmore coming back in, etc. We've got Ruben, we've got Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante. There's not really the space for him, and like arguably, you only bring him in if one of those main three left. And I don't think this summer one of those three will leave. Obviously, a lot can change between now and then, but you would think it would be unlikely. Another one that's come in. How important is it to you as a fan that Chelsea win the Club World Cup in February? Obviously, the last time we were in it, we lost. It's one that's missing. You don't get an opportunity at it very often because you obviously only get in winning the Champions League. Do you think it's really important that we get this one in the cabinet and just kind of tick it off?
Yeah, I mean, listen, if we lose it, I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to say it's the end of the world, but a trophy's a trophy. And I think Tuchel will take it very seriously. I don't see why you wouldn't want to win the cup. At the end of the day, if I have to choose between winning that and maybe dropping a few points in the Premier League, it's one of those things you can have completely different opinions on. Some people will say, why risk it? The other people will say, well, it's another trophy. I don't really have a blunt answer, to be honest with you. I'm on the fence, if I'm being honest. But, obviously I'd love to win it. And I think I might be going out there. I'm still sort of planning. But if I can, I'll definitely be up for it. But
yes. It's Abu Dhabi, isn't it?
Abu Dhabi, that's right.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the sides that are in it, and no disrespect, we should easily be winning that. But again, it doesn't always work like that. But I'm with you. If we win it, great. If we don't win it, yes, it's disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. If we win the league, then that Club World Cup is kind of soon forgotten about.
Exactly.
You touched on it a little bit earlier. I was speaking to quite a few Chelsea fans, and they're quite optimistic about us going deep in the Champions League again. Do you think that we have got a good chance again in the Champions League this season? Obviously, it's very hard to retain the trophy, but we're looking maybe semi-finals, possibly even the final again.
I think we can win it. I think we can do it again. I really, especially if we've got players fit, I just can't see how. I just can't see how we can lose. I really don't. And people say, well, have you not seen the performance we just put in against Watford? We just lost to a terrible Man United team. That's what I've been told. But it's like, you've got 52 games, 60 games in the season. Like, you can't just look at one thing. Chelsea Football Club is about big moments. And we are a club capable of pulling out those moments at whatever time. Doesn't matter if we're playing well. We are Chelsea. That's why Spurs, no matter how good the football is they play, they've always struggled. We're the complete opposite. We should be proud of that, happy with that. I would be absolutely surprised if we didn't get further than the semi-finals.
Yeah, I think we've got to feel confident. I think we've done pretty well in this group stage. I think we're perfectly set up for European knockout football as well. I think Tuchel's a great manager, full stop. I think he's a very good knockout manager also. Look, the squad's better than it was last season. I think we're playing better we're a better side than we were last season. So there's no reason to suggest why we can't. You look at the other teams across Europe. Real Madrid, not great. I think I'd fancy us to beat them again. Barcelona probably might not even get out of the group. PSG, they're
not a unit. They're not a team.
They're not a unit. Yeah,
exactly.
They're not a unit. These guys. And then you look at it and you think, okay, apart from City and Liverpool, who yes, they are a threat. The only other threat in Europe is Bayern Munich.
Absolutely.
And I mean,
that would be a tough game.
That would be a tough game. But I mean, ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised. This might sound ridiculous. I wouldn't be surprised if it's potentially the same final again this year as it was last year. I don't think that's I don't think that's completely out of the question at all. But I agree with you. I think we've got a great chance. But I mean, it's just a slightly it's not off topic. But what would you rather have this season if you only have one, Premier League or win the Champions League again?
Do you know what it is, right? As a fan who goes to the games, I'd have to say Champions League. It's just a day out, isn't it? We're still going to play just as many Premier League games. So I just see it as going to another Chelsea game. But on a serious note, I think that Premier League is what has been missing
Yeah.
the past couple of years. That is sort of the icing on the cake. Champions League is something so special. If you are winning it every year, obviously it's not
It's
a
great,
bad
yeah.
thing to win the Champions of Europe every game you go to. It's quite nice, but at the end of the day, domestic trophies is where you can really look at Man United and Liverpool and teams like that and say, right, we're with you. We're getting on your level, and either of them would be great. But I just think the consistency of it, you've got to win the league.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think I agree. Yeah, whilst Champions League is fantastic, we haven't had a league challenge for a while. Won the league since the Conte days. So I think, yeah, this is the next big one that we do need to tick off. And that seems like a good point to round out. Alex, before we wrap up, if people want to check out like more of what you do, your content, where you post your stuff, where's the best place for them to go?
So if you want to follow my Instagram, it's just like it says down there, just @vlog, ACHVLOG, and I've got a YouTube channel as well where I sometimes do vlogs. They're not quite as consistent. That's just the same thing with an S on the end. I basically, just the way to summarize what I do, I capture the best moments in the flesh, and I try and make it easy and accessible for people to watch that can't go to the games. And obviously, it's a great networking tool as well, because you get to meet amazing people like Charlie as well.
Oh.
So, do you know what I mean? Let's keep it going. Many more of these to come.
No, great stuff, guys. I'll link all that in the description below, so make sure you do check it out. From myself, obviously, guys, if you've tuned in live, thanks for watching. This will be up on iTunes and Spotify as well in the next day or so. Obviously, it'll be straight on YouTube now, so you can watch it back if you've missed it. Please do obviously smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. And Alex, thanks very much for joining me, mate. Really appreciate it. Good chat. And hopefully we can obviously continue with the good performance of Chelsea. But yeah, guys, once again, thanks for joining in. That's full time on another episode, and we'll catch you in next week's one. Cheers.
Thank you very much.